topic for today? What is the topic? Today, I want to talk about nutrition. I will talk about intermittent fasting. I will also talk about the COVID scenario and what nutrition we would want to have to avoid, and if not avoid, at least reduce the complications of COVID. And I have so much of data now. I've gone through a lot of published literature, a lot of published articles, where basically I've gone through what really benefits you when it comes to COVID. So today I'm going to give you a nutrition perspective of COVID, and I'm not really here to give you the treatment of COVID, the medications, the issues with oxygen. We are not here to spread negativity. We are here to spread the fact that you have a lot in your power. I want you to get that you are powerful enough to do a lot of things yourself without being at the mercy of the government, without being at the mercy of oxygen, without being at the mercy of hospitals and ventilators and trying to arrange for beds. That makes you feel helpless. Today, I'm going to make you feel powerful. I'm going to tell you that there's a lot of power in your own hands. Let's exploit that power. And I hope all of you get a sense of that power that I feel within me. And I hope you will get that power yourself. So it's 7 o'clock, right at 7. So let's begin what we are here to set today. Okay, right. Okay. Now, how is the format for today's session? First, I will speak to you about some very important factors about the COVID situation and how nutrition can help that. That's the first part of the talk. Second part of the talk is going to be how intermittent fasting can really help you in this COVID era. And then the third part is going to be when I open the forum up for your questions, and I will really take your questions one-on-one. So what I want you to do is hold on to your questions right now. Okay, hold on, or maybe you can keep on typing. And I will take them at the end of my talk. It's going to be a small talk. I don't really want to make it a very long talk, otherwise it becomes a bit distracting for most people. So let's speak about the COVID situation. Okay, so please pay attention and please realize that this is a nutrition way of conquering COVID, right? Okay, now all of you are aware about one thing, that okay, whatever news information you have about COVID, understand this: who is getting hospitalized with COVID, who is getting onto a ventilator, who's dying because of COVID. Let's give you this. All of you know about the concept that if somebody has got diabetes, he's got heart disease, he's got blood pressure, he's got some metabolic problem, HIV, cancer therapy, old age, all of you know this, right? That these people are having more trouble with COVID. Have you realized why? Have you understood why? I'll tell you why. People who are diabetic are unhealthy. People who are HIV people are unhealthy. Cancer people are unhealthy, right? And people who are on maybe some medications are also going to be unhealthy, some immunosuppressive medications. People who have heart disease are going to be unhealthy. So that means if you already are baseline unhealthy, right, that means you're not 100% alive anyway. But you just that you are going to your work, you're doing things, but you don't know that you're unhealthy inside. You say, okay, I've got diabetes, so what? I'm getting diabetes, my diabetes is getting controlled with medication. What is the problem? The problem is you're still not healthy, right? You're artificially being given a false belief that you're healthy, but you're still a diabetic person. You get that? You're still a heart disease person. How many of you have parents who have some blood pressure problem and they're going on with life thinking that they're healthy? And they have a false sense of belief that, okay, they're taking a tablet and they're thinking, oh, I'm taking a tablet, I'm fine, my BP is controlled. But this is false confidence. This is pseudo confidence. You know what happens? So let's assume that instead of 100% being healthy, you are now only 20%, 30% healthy. Your blood pressure is high, your diabetes, you have a very bad disease, for example, called as fatty liver. Okay, that's also a very bad disease. So let's assume you have any of that. And then on top of that, then COVID comes in. Now, COVID by itself cannot create too much of damage, but in a setting of an already unhealthy person, it's creating damage. And that's why you land up in the hospital. So what is our intervention here? See, obviously one intervention is avoid COVID coming into your body in the first place. And that rightly is your masking that is being told, social distancing, such an important part of the whole process. But do you realize one thing? In spite of all of that, you obviously cannot avoid people. You have a maid servant coming in the house. You have so many people, right? You don't know who's going to give it to you. So now problem is there's COVID. It's very difficult to control. So what is in your hand? Because the moment you focus only on the COVID, then you feel helpless. That, oh, it's in the air. What if I touch a surface and it's coming there? So you feel very helpless. You feel anxious. I will give you a different way. You want to get back into control? Don't focus on the COVID so much. COVID on yourself, the bottom part. Remember that? Remember that your health is in your control. So if you make yourself healthy, no matter how much COVID hits you now, what are the chances that the COVID is going to give you a hospital visit? Not much. Okay. So COVID is still going to come. But what if you're healthy? Then you can sustain it. Then your body will be able to handle it in your own house. So the maximum you will need is maybe home isolation. So now I feel very powerful even in this COVID era because I'm in control of my own health. You get that? Now, how do you want to get into that healthy situation? Now, what I did today from morning till this live, I went through guidelines. Okay, being a doctor, I can obviously look at guidelines being published now in scientific journals. I went through Australian guidelines, Brazilian guidelines, Canadian guidelines, Italian guidelines, Spanish, and US. So 6 countries. Okay, 6 countries have now given guidelines about nutrition. Okay, and what you should do for nutrition in the COVID era so that you become healthy. So even if COVID comes, it doesn't take you to the hospital. I also went through 5 international health organization bodies, namely World Health Organization, FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control of America, European Health Associations. So what happens is all these guidelines now are there in front of me. I went through all of them. And then with all these guidelines now, I'm going to tell you the summary of what all these guidelines now tell you. And it's going to be an eye opener. And this is, I hope all of you here hearing me can really look at how these guidelines will help you in the COVID situation. Now, almost all guidelines will tell you that if you want to avoid COVID hospitalization, you need to have this word called as optimum nutrition. What is optimum nutrition? Optimum nutrition means the nutrition which makes you healthy and boosts your immune system inside. What is that diet? Remember this. All the guidelines tell us one thing, that it's very important to get good immunity through diet. What do you mean by that? Let's give you this. They focus on the concept of micronutrients. There are 2 types of nutrients, macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients means your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fats that all of you are aware of. Something called as micronutrients. Micro means nutrients which are required by your body in very small amounts. That's why micronutrients. Micronutrients are really important in COVID situation. Which micronutrients are we talking about? We are talking about, very importantly, zinc. All of you are aware that zinc is so important, right? It's very important to take zinc, okay, in your diet. Selenium is something again very important, and iron is very important. Now you might say, which things have all these? That I will tell you. Okay, that I'll tell you. Just listen to me. So iron, selenium, zinc, one of the most important things for COVID situation. One more very, very important thing for COVID situation is vitamin D. All of you who need to prevent themselves from a COVID situation should take vitamin D. At least 2,000 to 4,000 international units per day. At least. And if you want to take it once a week, then 60,000 units per week is usually how much vitamin D you need to take. Or see, ideally it should be with sun exposure in the environment, but we don't want people to go out unnecessarily in the COVID situation. So best to supplement with vitamin D supplementation, very important. Again, something very important called as omega-3 fatty acids. Now, omega-3 fatty acids are, for example, they're in flax seeds and chia seeds. One of the most important elements of your immune system is an omega-3 fatty acids. So the more omega-3 you have, the better nutrition you have, the better health you have, the more immunity you will have, you'll be able to avoid COVID much better. So importantly, 2/3 of all these guidelines, almost 70% of the guidelines which I read of all these, what I told you, these countries focus on increasing your fruit and vegetable intake to avoid the COVID complications. How cool is that? Don't take this lightly. There's absolutely lot of scientific literature to prove that people who have a lot of vegetable and lot of fruits in their diet are having really good immune systems, and they're able to avoid the COVID complications. So don't really get into these shortcut methods of improving immune system. Get into established methods of getting into a lot of vegetables and fruits in a day. We typically recommend about 5 servings of vegetables and fruits per day. Now, between vegetables and fruits, we like more vegetables, the veggies part. Now, you might say, oh, that's not really something that I like. The question is not what you like. The question is, what does the COVID virus like in your body? The COVID virus likes a person who does not believe in having veggies. It's as simple as that. I'm dramatizing it, but that's the truth. Remember the vegetables. And I remember which vegetables are we talking about. Now you can remember it by a way to remember, which is given by a very nice plant-based doctor. And he coined the term GBOMBS, which stands for G's greens, B's beans. I also remember it for broccoli. Bomb, GBOMBS, GBOMBS. G is greens, all your greens. Have a lot of greens in your diet. Take it not for losing weight. Take it to avoid the COVID situation. Okay, take it to save your life. Greens, then beans. Okay, beans and broccoli. O stands for oranges. Citrus fruits give you so much vitamin C. Vitamin C has been proven to really be good against the COVID situation. So people are popping in vitamin C tablets, but guidelines tell us that it's best to get your nutrition from full meals rather than popping it from some tablets. Tablet is a very bad way of getting your nutrition. People think that, okay, if I'm taking a multivitamin, I'm taking a multi-mineral tablet, it's serving the purpose. It's not. God does not make a multivitamin. God makes fruits. God makes vegetables. Take them in the full form. Imagine if I'm Saurabh, if you just take my hand, is that me? No, it's a part of me, right? So if you want to experience me, you need to see the full me with my brain and the heart and the skin, everything, right? Same with food. Don't minimize it to a multivitamin. When you look at oranges, it's not only vitamin C. It's got 100 other things. So remember, full foods, whole foods are so much important. Don't have juices. Never have juices. Even if you make those juices in the house, it's very bad. Juices are again not nature's way of giving you orange. Remember one thing. If it's plant-based, it's great. But if it's made in a plant, like in a factory, it's bad. Did you get that? Okay, meaning whatever nature gives us is good, whatever is man-made is bad. So if you have like a juice which is in the supermarket that's got a human hand there, so it's bad. Okay, even if you have a human hand inside your own house trying to squeeze your oranges into a liquid, that's bad. You know why? Because you're losing all the fiber inside that orange skin. So remember, fibers is so important. So have intact stuff. Don't reduce it to a component. Okay, so G's greens, B's beans, broccoli. Beans are very important, by the way. All sorts of beans, any number of beans that you want to have. You can have kidney beans, you can have green beans, you can have any kind of beans that you have. Okay, in Hindi we say rajma, chana, lobia, right? The green beans. Every bean is great. You will not believe the power of beans. Actually, it's one of the superfoods that we have. Okay, GBO. The M stands for mushrooms. I would genuinely want you to get into mushrooms. It's one of the best things you can have. It's full of antioxidants, phytonutrients. It's got phytochemicals. It's got something called as free radicals. You know what are free radicals? I'll tell you what are free radicals. See, let's imagine a car. Okay, a car is obviously burning fuel. Do you see an exhaust pipe which is taking out all the bad gases into the environment? So every machine has a byproduct which it wants to dispel out. Your body is 100 billion times bigger machine as compared to your car. So would you not realize that there's going to be combustion factors, there's going to be exhausts of your own body, there's going to be bad products which form out of your combustion, out of your metabolism and enzymes. So where do these bad chemicals which are forming every minute of your life, what is happening to them? These bad chemicals are called as free radicals. The problem with free radicals, they're very toxic, they're very damaging, and they hit organs inside. So for example, if you have always been brought up on a diet of very high carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates like white bread, white rice, refined flour, refined oils, sugary foods, pastas, pizzas, a lot of refined juices, what is happening? A lot of free radicals. And these free radicals are attacking your heart, attacking your pancreas, giving you diabetes, attacking your heart and giving you heart disease, attacking your liver and giving you fatty liver. So you're already unhealthy because of years and years of poor diet, and then COVID hits. Do you now realize why you land up in a hospital? Because you have already have a compromised organ system inside, and COVID does not have to really work hard to make you sick. What if you want to reverse that? What do you want to flush those free radicals away? What do you want to have? Something which removes all those free radicals. What removes those free radicals? All scientific literature now tells us the only scientifically proven method to remove all those free radicals is to have an antioxidant rich diet. Meaning antioxidant means something which removes your free radicals, and that's primarily whole food, plant-based diets. So the more you get into plant-based diets, I'm not talking about ethics here, I'm not talking about morality here, I'm not even talking about the environment here. Those are also important things to consider, but let's not even go there. Let's only talk about health. Let's talk about your health. Okay, let's assume you're not worried about the environment. Let's assume that you're not even worried about the ethics part. Let's focus, remove that. Let's only focus on the health part. Now all data tells us that animal foods don't have free radical quenching ability. It's your plant-based, antioxidant filled colored diets. What do you mean by colored diets? Rainbow diets, meaning you have greens in that, you have yellow, you have red, you have white, all colors. Mushrooms are brown, greens are green colored, you have yellow bell pepper, red bell pepper, green bell pepper. So the more colors, purple cabbage, the more colors you have in your meals, the more antioxidants you will have. So mushrooms again is one more color. So remember, whenever you have a diet, think of, close your eyes then when you have a food and think, oh, something is going in my system, something is flushing all those free radicals off, something is eating those free radicals, something is healing my heart, something is healing my pancreas. Would it not be such a good feeling to have? And it's the truth. It's not a feeling only. It's been proven by science that free radicals create the most toxic damage that we know on earth. And you want to do that. So mushrooms are excellent. Okay. So GBOM, and the last B is, again, I said broccoli and beans, right? So one B is beans, one bean is broccoli. That much you can say. The last S is seeds. Okay. Like flax seeds, chia seeds, a source of omega-3 fatty acids, hemp seeds, sunflower seeds. So what I'm trying to tell you is the only sure diet which helps you regain control of your own health is honestly the number of colors you have. Okay. And remember one thing. Now there is a chemical that I want all of you to know about. Okay. Some people say that, okay, if you have animal based proteins, so obviously more superior proteins as compared to veg protein, there's no doubt about it. Animal protein is complete protein, veg protein is incomplete protein. But let's just get beyond that. Okay. When this protein, think of it like the center core. Okay, there's the protein, and let's say there's a cover, okay, around it. Now in a veg food, there's a protein in the center and there's some cover. What cover are we talking about? Cover, I'm talking about what I just told you. Phytonutrients, antioxidants, phytochemicals, all that is covering that protein, giving you health. So there's protein plus something around it which is so healthy. Look at the animal protein. Animal protein is covered by too many toxic chemicals. One classic toxic chemicals is something which you can Google as well, something called as TMAO. TMAO, which is trimethylamine oxide. Okay, trimethylamine oxide. TMAO is directly linked to heart disease. So imagine an animal protein which is covered by TMAO. So would you want to have that protein? I agree that protein is going to be superior, but what if it's bundled in TMAO? TMAO only comes from animal diets. So this is just one example. There are many more. The heterocycling amines, for example. There's going to be a lot of bacterial endotoxins around that protein. There's going to be something called as new 5GC. There's anthracyclines. So I can give you a whole list of chemicals which are even there in so-called healthy meat. People take meat and non-veg for the protein component, ignoring completely the cover it's bundled and coming with. So don't again reduce the animals to only proteins. Look at what else is coming alongside. One more important thing. One very important thing which has come out in all those guidelines that I just told you about is the importance of gut bacteria. You know what's gut bacteria? In your large intestine, which is called the colon, you have, you know how many organisms right now in your system? Right now, as we are speaking, 100 trillion. Can you even guess that number? 100 trillion organisms basically inside your large intestine. These 100 trillion organisms are bacteria, fungi, viruses, archaea, a lot of these organisms. You know what these organisms do? Imagine you don't have these many cells also in your body. In fact, 98% of your body is those microbes which are sitting in your large intestine. Imagine you only are 2% human and you are 98% bacteria and organisms. Can you believe that? So you're not even human, you're more organisms in your system. In fact, the genes, okay, you know genes, right? Genes is what makes us human, right? We feel that way. Imagine if you coupled all the genes in your body, only 2% are human genes. 98% are those microbial genes which are there in your intestines. Okay, so would you not want to take care of them rather than taking care of you? So how do you take care of that gut bacteria? If you have a bad gut bacteria, what will happen? You will become fat. There's so many people who will tell me, doctor, that person is not so fat. Why am I fat? It may have to do something with that gut bacteria which is hiding in your colon, which is bad. So one very nice way to lose weight is to improve your gut bacteria. And the only real diet which improves your gut bacteria is whole food plant-based diets. Again, nothing to do with ethics here, it's just science. It's just that sometimes we choose to ignore that science and get into the debates of what's correct and what's not correct. Let's not even go there. Let's only talk about science right now. And so there is an entire probiotic revolution which helps the COVID situation. In fact, one of the guidelines that I read about COVID actually advocated taking probiotics. And that probiotic, you know what it'll do? I'll give you this now, and it's going to be brilliant now. If you have probiotics in your diet, you know what are probiotics? Probiotics means anything which helps your bacteria. What helps your bacteria? Only one thing, which is fiber. Remember this. Tell me this, who has fiber? Is a red meat going to have fiber, or is a cauliflower going to have fiber? There's no debate in this. Only cauliflowers and plant-based diet have a lot of fiber. So who feeds your gut bacteria? Just the fiber. So fiber you can't digest yourself, but that's food for your bacteria. So your bacteria likes that. It's like manure. Okay, it's like manure for a plant, right? So bacteria feeds on that fiber. You know what it does? I always say this. If you take care of the bacteria in your colon, the bacteria will take care of you. You know how the bacteria takes care of you? By reducing something called as inflammation. You know what's inflammation? Inflammation has the word flame in that word. The word flame means fire. So imagine if inside your body is inflamed, meaning there's fire burning inside the body. Does fire not damage organs? So imagine if you have inflammation inside, your heart is kind of slowly on fire, your pancreas is on fire, your liver is on fire, and then COVID hits. COVID loves that fiery environment inside, and COVID says, oh, half the fire is already burning. I just have to put a bit of oil into that, and you land up in the hospital with a ventilator. And you curse the government that, oh, why is the government not able to give me beds? Tell me this. Did you help yourself? No, you in fact helped the COVID virus. It's time to take control in your own hands. Remember to take care of that bacteria. And that bacteria releases, remember this, hear me out on this. I'm going to give you some very brilliant knowledge now. That bacteria which is in your colon, okay, there are many bacteria, I'll give you some names, bifidobacterium, lactobacillus, there are many bacteria like that. This bacteria, once you give it fiber, this bacteria releases, you know what? And it's going to be brilliant now. This bacteria releases something called as short chain fatty acids. I'll repeat this. If you give that bacteria fiber, the bacteria releases something called as short chain fatty acids, SCFA. You know what is SCFA going to do? Again, so brilliant. You know, there is a colon, intestine, right? And there's a lining on that colon. You know that there's a lining. We have millions of food materials in the day, right? Some are good products, some are bad products, right? Now they are going into your colon, they're going into your gut. Okay, what if your lining had holes? Would bad things not go into your body and kill you? So the body has a brilliant mechanism of having that lining intact. There's no hole. Okay, meaning there's stitching almost in that lining. So bad things don't go inside, they pass in your stool. You know who is responsible for maintaining the integrity of that lining? That gut bacteria. And that SCFA, short chain fatty acids, are like fevicols. They are going to stick that lining of the intestines properly so that there's no hole. So bad things cannot go into your system. So you fall sick rarely. Did you get that? People who have good gut bacteria don't have too much of diarrhea when they have bad food, because bad food just passes off. Would it not be so brilliant to take care of your bacteria? And that bacteria, what if that lining is intact? Then you are not going to get inflammation and your organs are happy. You don't get endotoxins in your blood. Endotoxins means toxin, endo means inside. So toxin which you're making inside. So if you have bad gut bacteria, you have a lot of toxins in your blood. And then COVID hits, again you're sick. So right now we are talking about how to keep yourself healthy. So even if the COVID strikes, it's not going to make an impact. So is the helplessness not going away, believing that, oh, the stuff is in my hand only, why to worry? So remember the SCFA, short chain fatty acids. I can name them also. They are butyrates, propionates and acetates. There are three short chain fatty acids: butyrates, propionate and acetate. And they will heal the gut lining so well. So remember this. What feeds your gut bacteria the best? I'm going to tell you that now. Lentils. All sorts of lentils are so good. Now in Indian diet, there's so many dals that you have. That's lentil. Okay, that's so good for your bacteria. Beans. I told you the power of beans. Don't underestimate the power of beans. I make it a point to have beans at least 3 times to 4 times in a week. Have rajmas, have chana, have black beans, have moong, have sprouts. So good. Okay. Nuts are so good for that bacteria. Nuts, we like almonds and we like walnuts. We don't like a lot of sugary nuts. Okay. Because that again fuels inflammation. Remember, sugar fuels inflammation. The more sugar you have in your diet, the more white rice. You know, white rice is pure sugar. Even though it doesn't taste sweet, but inside your body it becomes glucose and it's refined carbohydrates. So glucose is going to really rush into your system. Glucose is again fuel for inflammation. So remember, the more glucose you have in your system, for example, you have biscuits. Biscuit is what? Nothing but glucose and refined oils. That's going to fuel inflammation again. So your heart is weak, your brain is weak, your pancreas are weak, your kidney is weak, or your liver is weak. And then the COVID hits your lungs. End of story. Take care of your gut bacteria. Take care of it more than you take care of your family. Because you know what? Your bacteria is family. Okay, more than your kids and your wife. Your bacteria is more of a family because it's right inside you, imagine. Okay, so would you not want to take care of it? I'll give you an analogy. Okay, in my dermatology circles, I'm very famous for analogies. Okay. Imagine you get into, in Delhi, I'm from Delhi. So imagine if you had the Mughal gardens. There's a Mughal garden, presidential Mughal garden, such a wonderful garden with a lot of beautiful flowers and trees and everything. Or like in Srinagar, you go to the biggest, very nice, beautiful gardens. And then you go to a desert and you go to a very bad place where there's hardly any tree. Which one would you like? You would like the great, nice, pleasant green garden, right? Same way, imagine that your colon, your large intestine, has 100 million flowers, 100 trillion flowers, which are all your bacteria. So you have a very rich garden inside your intestine and you like that environment. COVID hits that environment. Okay. What if you take antibiotics? What if you take animal food? What if you take sugar? And what if you take the common drug, which is antacid, which is pantoprazole, omeprazole, very commonly taken, right? With all these four things, I'll repeat. What did I say? Animal foods. Okay. Pantoprazole kind of antacids, antibiotics. Okay. If you take sugar in any form, white rice is sugar actually. So don't think of white rice is the same as gulab jamun, so to speak. All right. Okay. So what happens with that is your bacteria is going to be like a desert. It's not a good garden. It's a bad garden. So it's like a deserted garden. So bad garden. If you have a bad garden, COVID likes that because there's no competition. There's no competition, right? These 100 trillion microbes are going to give competition to every virus which comes inside. See, I understand. Do you know COVID actually gives you diarrhea as well? COVID gives you lung infections as well, obviously. It gives you heart problems. So why is it able to hit so many parts? Because all those parts were already unhealthy to begin with. What if you had a perfect area? What if you have perfect systems? And then COVID hits. COVID says, oh, I've already met my match. I'll just pass this person and go to this fellow right next to him who looks to be fat, who looks to be having animal food. So is it not a COVID survival mechanism that wants to pass on from a healthy person without affecting him, but going to the next person who is obviously a richer material because he's obese? All data right now tells us that, and this again is scientifically proven data. There's a lot of AIMS, medical college studies which are coming out, a lot of studies which are coming out saying that even if you don't have diabetes, even if you don't have heart disease, even if you don't have fatty liver, if you're just fat, if you're just obese, you have a higher chance of landing up in the hospital and getting onto the ventilator. Means what? Obesity by itself is a disease. Obesity by itself gives you poor outcomes with COVID. So would you not want to reduce your obesity? How do you want to do that? Do intermittent fasting. I would request all of you to do intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is skipping just one meal of the day. Is it such a big sacrifice? No. Because when you're in the hospital wanting oxygen, you would have wished that, oh, I just wish that I was intelligent enough and kind enough to just skip one meal. I would not have landed up in the hospital waiting for oxygen. It is not important to have 3 meals in the day. Have 2 meals in the day. What if I tell you that 2 meals in the day is going to make you live? What if I tell you that 2 meals in a day is going to improve your gut bacteria? Again, data on this now with us. Intermittent fasting improves your gut bacteria. Imagine that. So you are going to really give yourself a Mughal garden inside. Would you not want to have like a big, beautiful garden inside yourself where bad organisms are not welcome and only good bacteria are welcome? So I just wish all of you a lot of health from this perspective. Again, from a COVID perspective, let me revise which foods are the best to have. Okay, I want you to have a lot of lentils, beans, nuts, seeds, which is flax, chia, hemp, sunflower. We are happy with a few fruits. For example, we are happy with you for having kiwi, for example. We are happy with you having citrus fruits, strawberries, and all kinds of berries. We are happy you having. We want you to have as many veggies as possible, which is broccoli. Cauliflower is so good. Anything of the cruciferous family, which is broccoli, bok choy. You can have cauliflower, cabbage. You can have anything like that. We are happy with a lot of spinach, a lot of these greens. We are so happy with that. I want you to have some degree of vitamin D in your system. If you can't go out, at least have 2000 to 4000 units per day. We want you to have omega-3 fatty acids, which again comes from seeds. Okay, supplementation, when you say I want you to have vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, and selenium. Now, once you have a constellation of these features, you might say, I don't know where all these are available. You don't have to remember. You just have to remember, have as many rainbow colored diets as possible. You get everything by default. Obviously, you don't get vitamin D so much. For that, you might need supplementation, but otherwise everything else you are getting. It's a common myth that vitamin B12 is not there in plant-based diets. It's not even there in animal-based diet, by the way. So many people who have animals are also vitamin B12 deficient. So it's a myth. Do you know who makes vitamin B12? Even animals don't make vitamin B12. Bacteria in the soil makes vitamin B12. Okay, so when animals eat that grass, which is infected by that bacteria, they then get the vitamin D, vitamin B12 inside, and then we eat those animals. We feel the animals are a source of vitamin B12. It's not. It's still the bacteria. So if you are purely, okay, if you're purely a plant-based person, you might say, where do I get my vitamin B12? The problem today in today's life is everything is washed. Everything is pasteurized. So those bacteria which are naturally making vitamin B12 are going to go away. So it's good to take a vitamin B12 supplement. How difficult is that to do? Why is that an argument against a plant-based diet? It's not. Okay, remember, again, we're talking not of ethics here. I can make an entire 1 hour lecture only on ethics also. I can make a separate 1 hour lecture on the environmental impact of an animal food. Okay, but right now we are just talking about your health and science. Okay, remember that. Okay, now if you want to have a good breakfast, somebody's asked me a good breakfast. I love oats. There's so many internet videos on oatmeal. I love oatmeal. You can have fruits in that, you can add berries in that, you can have some cinnamon powder in that. It's so tasty. Okay, I love having those. I love having a lot of sauteed vegetables for breakfast. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It really, the moment I have these sauteed vegetables, you might say, oh, it sounds very boring. It is not. You know what is boring? Lying in a hospital bed, looking at the ceiling is boring. Veggies are not boring. Veggies will get you out of that hospital bed. The more complacent you are, that kuch nahi hota, it's all okay, so I can have anything. People who had anything are in the hospital right now, struggling to breathe. Do you want to be like that? Do you want to be like that? Remember one thing, that if you have to make a bit of sacrifice on your taste buds, it's okay. Taste buds is not what governs life. Remember, the more you decide by taste, the more unhealthy you will be. The more you decide by how much fiber you have in your diet, the more you decide on how much nutrition you have by multiple colors. I always say, eat your colors. I always say that. And I have one more saying which I've taken from a person whom I respect, called as Michael Pollan. Anything that stands on 1 foot, like plants and mushrooms, is better than something which stands on 2 feet, like chicken, and which is even better than something which stands on 4 feet. okay, which is pigs, for example, and goats and beef. So remember this, okay? So just a way to remember, but it's true, it's proven by science. Obviously, I'm not saying that you need to completely avoid it. If you can, I'm happy if you avoid animal food completely. But there are some gray zones. Some people say, okay, I've reduced my animal food intake. Is that okay? I say it's okay. So the closer you go to a plant-based diet, I'm fine. I'm also tolerant as a person. Okay, meaning when somebody says, I'm animal-based, I respect that advice. I respect their position. I don't feel angry at them. I just want to tell them that, okay, this is the fact. If you want to see the fact, I'm okay. If you don't want to see the fact, I'm still your friend. I'm still caring for you. I don't look at them negatively. I just think that maybe their time has not come where they are not able to look at this data, and there'll be a time, maybe. Now, I have a person, by the way, who recovered from COVID recently. And you know what was his only error? That he was fat. He went on a ventilator. He's 35, but he came out. You know what the first thing he asked me after he came out? That, Saurabh, I've got my second life. I want to now make the most of my second life. Tell me how I can be healthy. And he was an absolute non-veg person. I was a friend to him even before. Okay, but now I know perspectives change. So I want to wait for your perspective also to change. Okay, whatever I have read about this for years now, it's not a data I'm telling you in one day. Okay, I've done courses, I've done so much work on this to be able to tell you this. So I want all of you to understand that life is in nutrition. Life is not really, see, an occasional celebration with meals I'm okay with. I'm okay with sugar also, when it's only as a part of celebration. The problem is sugar is not a part of celebration now. Sugar is a part of our daily meal. It was never meant to be a meal. So you feel like having some sweet thing every day. You have bread every day. You have white rice every day. That's nothing but sweet. You have all kinds of cakes and pastas and pizzas. What is that? What is nothing but sugar? So it's what that makes you ill. That makes you unhealthy. So remember one thing, that a plant-based diet, a fibrous diet, full of phytonutrients, antioxidants, avoiding the TMAO, which I told you in the first session. Okay, remember that TMAO is so damaging. There's so many, I can give you 100 names, but I don't want to make this session too technical and too scientific. If you believe me, then you believe in the science of avoiding animal food for yourself, for the environment, and for animal rights. I'm not even talking about animal rights here, but these are three very important reasons. But let's assume that the only reason is your own health. Is that not big enough reason? Okay, so forget COVID, focus on yourself and focus on what health it gives you. Okay, so this is what I wanted to say. I get too emotionally involved when I talk about nutrition, so unfortunately I always overskip times, so my apologies for that. I would love you to ask me questions if you feel like. Can I take questions, please? You can type your questions. You can type your questions now. You can type your questions. Okay. Priya has asked, I want to lose 6 to 7 kilos. Which window should I follow? I usually like a 16-8 window, where 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating is something I want you to do. Okay. Once you do that, then you will start finding weight loss. And average weight loss on intermittent fasting is about 2 to 2.5 kilos a month. And if you can hit that target, that means you're doing well. Okay. Any window suitable for pregnant women? No. You should not do intermittent fasting during pregnancy, not even in lactation. But if you have a plant-based diet, as what I have mentioned, with the component that I have mentioned, even in pregnancy and post-pregnancy, you will be healthy and you will have a healthy baby. Okay. Raj Patel, how to stay consistent? You know what's the best way to stay consistent? Is be fearful of a bad health. I'm very scared of falling sick. I'm very scared of COVID. I'm a human, I'm scared. But what if I am that person on the bed? Is that fear not good enough reason to be consistent? We are not consistent because we feel it's okay not to be consistent. It's okay not to have all focus on nutrition and nourishment because we feel कि हमें कुछ नहीं हो सकता. What if you fall sick? And COVID is been a blessing in that way because it's told people to focus on their own health first. It's brought the entire world to its knees. And you know who's dying? People who were not healthy to begin with. So is that not good enough reason? If COVID goes, something else will hit you. Maybe heart disease will hit you. Do you know intermittent fasting, if you do properly, you are going to be thin for sure. You know, I have lost so much of weight. I have lost almost 24 kilograms on intermittent fasting. I'm proud to say that I'm thin now. And I'm proud to say COVID hopefully will bypass me. Or even if it hits me, maybe I'm not going to get complication. Though obviously I can get sick. I can be on a ventilator. But the concept is probability. See, even if you have the best precautions, flights do crash. But if you take good precaution, your flights don't crash, as the probability is less. So all of us, people who are doing intermittent fasting, can also fall sick. But what is the probability? So let's talk about probability here. Okay, so I can obviously fall sick for sure. COVID can hit me very badly. But if I was fat, it will hit me worse. Okay, Anshula Jain, thank you, bete, thank you. Insightful, yes. Arun Bharadwaj, so nice to see you, saying 25 kilos lost. This is so beautiful for me to hear, right? Okay, let me see a few more questions. Ideal food for breaking the fast, I did tell you. Different B12s, don't worry. You can just buy a normal B12. Usually we advise, if you are on like once a week, you can take it as a supplement. Okay, if you are really a vegan person, there's no harm. Or you can check your B12 levels first and then decide how much milligrams you want to have. Okay, it said oats is not Indian origin. Plays your take. See, thing is, everything in nutrition will have a counter argument. I know that. Okay, what I know for a fact is, if you have fiber rich foods, okay, you're going to be much less of a burden on the environment as a living person. So as a living person, we have a responsibility towards Mother Earth also. The more you take animal food, you're serving yourself only, and you are serving your own taste buds. That's it. Imagine you're just 2-3 inches of your tongue, and the entire world has to produce meat for that 3 inches of your tongue and your taste on that. The moment it goes inside, there's no taste. Would you be so selfish, if I might add, to not think of the environment first and look at how animal food breaks the entire environment? Do you know COVID, in all probability, came from animals? The entire chain we don't know, but it did come from animals, right? So why are we suffering today? Is possibly because of humans' need for animals to be eaten for taste. How small a thought process is that? Okay, Devashish, I understand with culture, you know, it's there in culture that, you know, some sections will say, okay, it's on a culture, we have been brought on that food. But, and you can change what is wrong. Okay, what if you feel proud of the fact that you are not a burden on Mother Earth? Let's expand our thought processes. Let's not be so self-servient that we only think of ourselves. No, it's time to think of bigger things. And COVID has taught us that. Okay, right. What if I feel hungry? Okay, Devashish, if you feel hungry during intermittent fasting, we are okay with 4 things. One is green tea, black coffee, lemon water. Gradually your hunger will start going down as your body gets adapted to the new intermittent fasting concept. It'll take 2 to 3 weeks, by the way. to get over that hunger phase, but then it will not trouble you anymore. Siddesh, what if the weight has been stagnant after months of 18 hours at 94 kgs, not reducing? Yes, Siddesh, a good thing is to increase your fasting, because again your body becomes used to 16 hours also. You can increase to 18 hours, 20 hours. And one thing I'll tell you is add strength training. Add strength training, it really benefits you. Okay, very, very important. Kanwal Farooq, can breastfeeding mother do intermittent fasting? No. I've told you, don't do intermittent fasting, but have a healthy diet. Okay. Your take on curd, animal based but good for the gut? Yes. Daljot, good question. See, curd, and there's a lot of talk about probiotics in curd. But do you know one thing? The lactobacillus in the curd is not of a very varied type. There's only one lactobacillus, if I'm not mistaken, is lactobacillus casei. Now that lactobacillus casei is many times inactivated by your stomach. So many times you're not even getting that probiotic properly, whatever you take in your curd. But I understand curd is a good source of probiotics for a normal person. But what I usually recommend is take a lot of fiber. Fiber is a prebiotic. What do you mean by prebiotic? It feeds your bacteria. So why not give food to the existing bacteria, which is already there? So my take on it being an animal food, I understand it's an animal food, and I would wish that that's not a source of probiotics and people don't take it too much. A little bit of it here and there we are kind of okay with, because it gives you some source of probiotics. But best is, I sometimes recommend some oral medications as a probiotic source, because our probiotics only come from fermented products, right? Like kimchi and sauerkraut and kombucha. But that's not something that Indians take so much, right? So an Indian source of probiotics is usually only curd, maybe some fermented product, like kanji also is a fermented product that you can have. Or best to take fiber, which feeds your bacteria. Okay, Puneet, I have anemia. Could you suggest how I can move on? See, if you have these medical conditions, best is to nutritional deficiencies can increase if you fast for too long. What should be done to reduce bloating? See, bloating is a part of plant-based diets. Okay, it happens when you take a lot of plant-based. Sometimes when you take a lot of fiber, you can get increased bloating. But then that's again temporary. As you take more and more plant-based diets, you will find the bloating actually reduces. So it's a temporary phenomenon. Don't worry about it. The bloating is basically because of a lot of gas being produced by those gut bacteria, which is hydrogen sulfide. So that is why the smell also comes from there. But gradually your system gets adapted to that. Okay, right. I think all these questions have already been now answered. Okay, so I'm happy that we could do this intermittent fasting discussion. I would love all of you who are a part of this right now to tell me whether we started at 7, it's almost 8. So we took 1 hour to address your questions. Okay. One question I may have missed. Okay, Siddesh, you want to focus on muscle building? Yes, beautiful. I'll tell you the guidelines of muscle building on intermittent fasting. By the way, I have a video just on this. Go to YouTube, Dr. Saurabh Jindal Intermittent Fasting, and there's a video just on this and how to build muscle. I would recommend you to listen. It's a 40-minute video just on muscle building and intermittent fasting. Please go through that. It's a very scientifically made lecture. Okay, I made it so simple that you will be thrilled at the easiness of understanding that particular lecture. Okay, Dr. Mansa, is it like we are trying to negotiate even if we switch to brown rice from white rice? Okay, you can do that. It's a good initial switch to do. Go to brown rice. As I said, let's not be very drastic. I don't say that stop rice. I say let's gradually change. White rice to brown rice, maybe brown rice to black rice, to red rice, okay? And maybe later on, just a lot of veggies. So it's a gradation. I'm happy the more you move away from white rice. The further you move, the better you will be. Right. Are all questions done? I think we can now close. It is 1 hour. I'm glad to see that a lot of people are actively involved. And I would wish your indulgence on telling me whether you want more of these sessions to be done, whether it's serving a purpose, whether it's keeping you motivated, whether it's helping you overpower the advertising lobby which is there on the TV, which says cornflakes are good, that oh, these Kellogg's cornflakes and things have added vitamins and added. That's crap. Don't get into that. Okay, if the product is crap, no matter how much vitamins you put on it, it's not going to make it like an amrit, right? It's not going to be good. So don't get into that advertising gimmick. Okay, don't ever think that, oh, that Parle G girl, which is such an innocent girl on the cover of the Parle G packet, that girl is killing you. That innocent girl is killing you. Make no doubt about it. Okay, in fact, I always say that tobacco cigarette boxes have that label that tobacco kills. Okay, if I had a way to say this, refined carbohydrates, okay, refined oils, okay, see, everything in moderation is good. The problem is we then have biscuits as a routine phenomena, okay, and that kills you and lands you in a hospital, and then you blame the government for not giving you oxygen. What did you do first? You helped the situation, you worsened the situation. Okay, what I want you to do is contribute and think that the power of health is in your hands. Millets, Shikha, millets are very good. I like millets. Millets, again, don't take a flour of millets. Make intact millets, because that retains the fiber. I like a lot of quinoa also. Okay, I like quinoa as well, which is again excellent plant-based proteins. Who says that plants don't have proteins? They have all the proteins in the world. It's just that it is not there in one product. You have to mix and match.